Hey everyone, I am a little bit later this week than I would have liked to be. Life has just kind of been really busy. I have a few new clients. I am trying to do some work with group work, which has just kind of slowed me down with the podcast. But I am here. This week I have been listening to, well, I say this week, it's more like this month. I have been listening to the 5am Club book on audiobook. I listened to Jason Greystone's podcast ages ago. I met Jason at an event, and I listened to his podcast after I met him at an event, and he talked about the power of learning and how we all just kind of go through life saying, oh, we haven't got enough time to do these things. And what he was saying was that you could listen to audiobooks whilst you're doing your everyday life. So get a speaker, a waterproof Bluetooth speaker, listen to an audiobook while you're in the shower, listen to an audiobook while you're brushing your teeth, listen to an audiobook while you're cleaning your house. All of those things that you just do, you could actually be doing learning at the same time. This one is the 5am Club, and I'm hoping it's going to give me some kind of motivation, because I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod years ago, and it changed my life, and it got me to re-evaluate my morning processes and getting up and my whole perspective of getting out of bed. But I have been a little bit lax on that recently, and I have gone back to, well, not gone back, but I'm getting up at 6am rather than 5, and I really want to get back to where I was before, because I was super productive and my life naturally got better when I was getting up at 5am. Some of you will find that absolutely bizarre, but read The Miracle Morning, read the 5am Club, get it on audiobook. It will change your life, and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because I have passed on the knowledge of The Miracle Morning to lots of people that I know, who, the ones that have read it, it's also changed their life too. And that fits very nicely into today's episode. So I listened to the last podcast episode, and I realised that I was actually too far away from the microphone. I have a very fancy microphone, I would say. It looks very fancy anyway, and it is supposed to be of very good quality. When I listen back and do my editing on the laptop, it sounds fantastic, but I decided last week to listen to the episode in my car, and I realised that I sound like I'm really far away, and it wasn't the best quality. So I do apologise to all of my listeners, because I can see that despite the fact that the audio wasn't good, there was lots of people that made it right to the end of the podcast. So I do apologise for that. I'm hoping that going forward this is going to be better. We will see. I will listen to myself again, and maybe in the next episode I will be apologising again, but I hope not, because as I say, I do have this microphone that it wasn't very cheap, and it's got a fancy kind of thing to stop the popping of my voice. So maybe, just maybe, this will be a better episode. But I do appreciate those that still listen despite the sound issues. So it got me thinking, how often do we evaluate ourselves? I was evaluating the podcast. I was listening to it as though I was one of you guys, just to, I don't know, see if it was any good, really. I think despite people saying that it's good, I always have a little bit of self-doubt in my mind. So yeah, I wanted to be in your position, and it did get me thinking, like, how often do we evaluate ourselves? not just the things that we do, but every part of life. How often are you evaluating yourself? How often are you looking at whether you're in alignment with your core feelings, your thoughts, your wants, your needs? Essentially, alignment means when you compare what you are experiencing within your life, you work out whether this actually feels right for you. So you will have core beliefs, you will have core wants, core needs, feelings, and working out whether the way that your life is and whether that fits with those core beliefs. One of the key kind of things of if your life doesn't fit with your core values, if it doesn't align, is that you are sad all the time or you are angry all the time. People get sad, people get happy, people get angry, people get confused, anxious, all of those things. But emotions are supposed to kind of come and go. If you are constantly feeling sad, that's quite a key indicator that you are not in alignment with your core values. So I'm going to go through some questions around the core areas of your life. This is based on a lot of the work that I do with my one-to-one client. If you can grab a pen and paper and write this down, that's great. If you're driving, don't do that. If you're out for a run, probably don't do that because you might bump into people. If you are doing something where you can't stop and write this down, listen, have a think about it, and then listen to the episode again when you can sit down and write these things down. Just get those thoughts going in your brain. And then at the end, I want you to rate yourself out of 10. So 10 is that you are fully aligned with your core thoughts, your core feelings, your core wants, needs. You are just at a level and so happy. And 1 being that you are not aligned in any way and you need to make some huge changes in your life. The first area is work and knowledge. This means employment. It could be if you volunteer. And obviously knowledge, are you learning what you want to do? So question number 1 is, are you happy at work? Do you wake up each morning thinking, I can't wait to get to work today? And loads of people will be like, no one ever says that. But I can tell you that I say that. I can't wait to record a podcast episode. I can't wait to see my one-to-one clients and to see what has changed from this week since last week. I can't wait to do it. And even when I was in a regular job, and yes, there were some days that it was just really rubbish, and that is part of life. But the majority of the time, I woke up in the morning and I was like, I can't wait to get to work today. And when I stopped feeling like that, I started applying for new jobs. So are you happy at work? Is there anything that you would like to learn? Is there anything that you've always been like, oh, I wish I could do that? And have you taken any steps to start learning it? So for me, I've always wanted to be fluent in a foreign language. I obviously have spoken about this before. I did French at GCSE and A-level. I am not fluent in any way, shape or form. Am I taking active steps to become fluent at the moment? No. I was doing Duolingo. I have looked up at doing a course at the local university, but I'm struggling for time, to be honest. I haven't actually got the time to go and spend 2 hours a week learning because the times that they do it don't fit in with my schedule. So is there something you want to learn, and are you taking steps to do it? The next core area is all about community. The people that you have around you is really core to who you are as a person. Do you feel responsible for anything or responsible for anyone? Are you fully responsible? So if you have children, you are responsible for those children. If those children do not eat, it is your fault. I'm not going to go into kind of eating disorders and things like that. That's like way beyond what we're talking about right now. But ultimately, if you have a small child and that small child does not get fed and does not go in the shower or bath, that is probably your fault because you're responsible for that child. So are you responsible for anything? Do you have a pet? You have to keep that pet alive. Feeling responsible for things gives us a purpose. It makes us feel good. It does fluctuate, you can feel bad if you are parents and you don't do the best job, because we don't always do our best jobs. It can also make you feel bad. But having that sense of responsibility gives you purpose. Do you belong to any groups? So this could be friends, this could be family, this could be workout groups, this could be your colleagues. Are you part of any groups? When we feel part of a community, we naturally feel happier. We naturally feel more supported. And we also feel responsible for those people. The next core area is around your emotional health. Do you feel like you are in control even when things go wrong in your life? So if your car breaks, do you get really, really angry, really annoyed about it? Of course it's annoying, but are you able to actually manage that? Are you able to just go, nah, it's one of those things. I will just take it to the garage and get it fixed. Or does it ruin your whole day because you can't stop thinking about it? Are you able to listen? And that's a really important one, as well as making your point without it turning into an argument. Think about previous relationships. I do know there are people on here that are in a relationship. Think about when you and your partner, ex-partner, have not agreed on something. Are you able to listen to their point, take it into consideration? I don't just mean listen, nodding your head like the nodding dog that used to be on the Churchill advert, but not really taking it in. I mean, are you actually listening? Are you taking account of what they're saying? And then are you able to put your point across? Think of a very lovely word. I like the word articulate. Are you able to articulate your point? Are you able to put your point across without it turning into a shouting match, without it turning into one of you storming out? Are you able to do that? Because that's really important. Problems cannot get solved if a person cannot listen and a person cannot put their point across. You can't solve problems with other people that way. Nothing ever gets solved. It just gets left, or it turns into an argument, and then it gets left even more. The next thing I want you to think about is your physical health. Do you think about what food you are putting into your body? Now, you all know that I'm big on this. You've listened to my grass-fed meat episode. Is it something that you're bothered about? Is it something that you're like, I would rather not know what I'm putting into my body? And if you are thinking about what food you put into your body, do you know what those foods do for your body? Because again, this isn't something that is taught in school. My daughter she's studying nutrition as part of her GCSE. And so she is learning about all these different things and what they do for your body. But if she'd have taken woodwork or textiles, she wouldn't have learnt these things. And I do think it's a shame that they don't teach this in school. Well, this does this for your body. Eating fish does this for your body. It is a shame. Do you know those things? Do you exercise? And at this point, there may be people turning off the podcast like, for God's sake, she's talking about exercise again. But I just think exercise is so, so important. And I don't mean because of the look. I don't mean because you get a six-pack or you have nice legs. Any of that. I don't mean any of that. Exercise releases hormones into your body that makes you happier, that makes you feel fulfilled. Exercise can counteract some of those really bad things that you are putting into your body. Exercise will make you live longer, potentially. I know there are very fit people that do die, but normally something else is going on there. So do you exercise? Even if it's just going for a walk once a day, you walk your dog. That's it. That is exercise. We are led to believe that you have to go for a run for it to be exercise. You have to do an hour in the gym every day for you to be able to say that you exercise. And that's not true. If you go for a walk, you go for a swim, walking your dog is exercise. Going and playing golf is exercise. Dancing in the kitchen is exercise. It's just moving your body. You don't have to be a runner. I'm certainly not, although I am trying at the moment. Not anything actually to do with this podcast, but my son plays football. We're trying to get his fitness levels up, therefore making him run. And I know that sounds really mean, but we are making him run, because if you can't run as a striker, you're not going very far, essentially. But in the spirit of good examples and all of that, I am running too. So I have been trying to run 3k a week. I actually hate running. It's so boring, but I'm doing it. Yeah. So do you exercise? Even though you hate it. I do like weightlifting, by the way. I do actually like. Another key area of your life is pleasure. What fun activities do you have scheduled in for this week? I know we're on Thursday, so maybe think about next week. Do you have something in your diary that is fun? Why? Because if you're not having fun, if you're not doing anything that is making you feel happy, life starts to seem a little bit pointless. You go to work every day, you come home, you eat, you go to bed, you go to work. Oh, obviously you wake up again. You go to work, you come home, you eat, you go to bed, you get up, you go to work. That wasn't what life was meant for. If you go back hundreds of years, yes, people worked, but they also still had fun. Lots of different ways of having fun, some of them very inhumane and not something that I would want to be participating in, but they still did it and they still work. So why should we be any different? Do you feel love? And this could be by anyone. This could be family members, this could be friends. If you do have a partner, this could be your partner. Feeling love is one of the core areas of life. When you feel love, when you feel secure, when you feel attached to somebody, you perform better in every area of your life. And I'm talking about real love. I'm not talking about manipulation, controlling behaviour. Oh, I know this person loves me because he doesn't let me go out. Or I know she loves me because she checks my phone. Not that. That is a completely different issue, story, whatever. I mean someone who loves you so much that they would do something that they don't want to do for you, or just love without conditions. Someone that loves you, normally it is parents. So I'm going to talk from a parent side of things, and I know some people don't have parents that treat them this way, and I am sorry for that, but it is just pure love that they would do anything for you. Do you have that? And lastly, inner peace. Do you feel comfortable with yourself? Are you comfortable being alone? Do you know your purpose? Do you know what your wants, your needs, your fears are? And the thing is, if you answered no to any of the other questions, you're unlikely to actually be able to achieve inner peace until you get all the rest. They all fit together. If you've gone through this exercise and you've thought, actually I'm not aligned in anything, none of these, it's not right, I hate my job, I don't feel love, I don't have a community, I don't exercise. If that's how you're feeling, or even if it's just like one or two things, pick one of the things on that list and work on it. Just work on one thing. Don't try and work on multiple things all at the same time. Oh, I'm going to try and get a new job, and I'm going to try and get new friends. I'm going to try and do something fun, and I'm also going to exercise all in one day, because that's you trying to be an overachiever, but statistically, you're less likely to achieve anything. Whereas if you focus on one thing, get that one thing fixed, one thing how you want it to be, and then move on, you are more likely to make things better. Maybe pick the easiest one. So if you don't have a community, focus on that. Go and find a group of people who are interested in the same things as you. Go to a jiu-jitsu class, go to a yoga class, go to a book club, go to the racing. Board games, there's a club for that. Want to play foot golf? There's a local club for that. Whatever it is that you enjoy, whatever you like doing, and if you're really unsure on what you like doing, think about what TV programs do you want? What do you look at on the internet in the evening? What are you scrolling? When you're scrolling through TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whichever one you're scrolling through, what makes you stop? What are you interested in? Go find a club for it. There will be one, as long as it's not illegal. Don't do anything illegal and then say, Sam told me to go do this, because I won't defend you, sorry. But your people are out there and you need to go find them. If you were already thinking about your food intake and my questions triggered something in you, start with that. Start reading labels. Follow Jen Smiley. Jen Smiley is like the food label lady. Go follow her on Instagram and just watch some of her videos. If that's what you're interested in, go do that. If you don't have any fun activities planned for this week, next week, plan some. So out of all of those core areas of life, pick the easiest one to focus on first. And then gradually, once you fix that one and it aligns with who you are and what you want and what you need out of life, then move on to the next one. And just remember, if you didn't write your answers down, go back, listen to this episode again with a pen and paper, because I do think putting things on pen and paper make them real. There was a study, I can't fully remember who it was by or what it was, but there was a study around putting things on pen and paper instead of writing them in like the note of your phone or your laptop, and how people were more proactive when they physically wrote it down with a pen. I might look that study up. If I do, I'll add it to the show notes. Once you realise you aren't the person that you wanted to be and that you don't align with your own core values, that's when you can start making changes. And that is why it's so good to evaluate ourselves. Just like I tried to evaluate the way that the podcast was, I tried to put myself in your guys' shoes and listen to it the way that you do. And there was a problem. It didn't align with how I want the podcast to be. I don't want people to have to turn it up because they can't hear me properly. That's not okay. Our brains are wired to seek things that feel right for us. So when that doesn't happen, we can become confused. We can get quite anxious. We can get depressed. Whereas when you live in alignment with what you actually want and what you need and what you think is right, you will feel happier and you'll feel more content. And the result that carries on from that is that your relationship with everyone, but certainly your romantic relationships, will become easier. You are more likely to attract the person that's right for you when you know exactly what you want. And if that person doesn't have the same values as you and isn't in alignment and is chaotic, then you will know that sooner rather than later. rather than you wasting time. So the key is to get yourself to a point where you know exactly what you want, you know exactly what you need, you know exactly what's going wrong, and you're trying to fix it, because then you are going to attract someone that fits with you. Whereas if you're confused, you don't know what you like to do, you don't have a community of people around you. If you don't have people around you who will say to you, oh, there's something a bit off about this person, you are more likely to find someone who is going to make you feel isolated. And I say that, I don't know if there are any studies around that, but I say that from working with lots of people that have been in relationships where they have been manipulated, where they have been isolated from friends, family, and the person that they've been in a relationship with, their whole aim was to make it so that that person has nobody else. I've worked with those people. It's the same steps taken every single time. And one of the key things that I have seen over the years is that those people did not have a community of people to say something isn't right here. So these things, they really do work in your favour. I personally don't align with people who are miserable at work. And that's all of you going, well, Sam, I'm never going to work with you because actually I hate my job. It's not so much that. I know getting a job is hard. I understand, certainly when you're in a position where you get paid a certain amount of money and your lifestyle fits with that certain amount of money, it's very difficult, even if you hate it, to just leave. And I'm not advocating for that. I did do that. My work no longer aligned with who I was, and I left. I've done that twice in my life, but the situation is different for me, and not everyone is able to do that, and not everyone is able to say, actually, this job makes me so miserable that I'm willing to cut back on certain things in my life. I'm willing to not go on holiday because this thing is making me so miserable. I need to go do a job that I'm not miserable in, and that may mean that I take a pay cut. I understand that certain people can't do that. I get that. But my thoughts are that if something is making you so miserable that you have to moan about it every day, that it takes over your life, that you can't speak about anything else, then you either need to move on or you need to move upward so that you can be in a position to make changes to that organisation, the changes that are needed to stop you from being so miserable. Does that make sense? So in the past, when I have met people at work who constantly moan about work, I have distanced myself from that because I've always enjoyed my job. And like I say, when I got to a point where I don't, I just move on or I leave or whatever. And it's the same now. When I hear coaches moaning about lack of clients, or they moan about how hard social media is, I distance myself from that coach, and I don't actually want to be around them because they don't align with me and the way that I think. And when I'm around people that are miserable, I find myself feeling miserable, and I don't really want to do that. So when I was back in the dating world, someone who moaned about their job on a first date or a second date or third date, they just wasn't the person for me, because I knew that if they were moaning but weren't doing anything about it, then they're not the type of person that I want to be with. And I have a saying, and I said this to my husband 6 years ago, and as a result of me saying this, he actually quit his job. So I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I was in a financial position to be able to support us both until he could decide what he wanted to do. But I just said to him, you are not a tree. And he said, what the hell are you talking about now, Sam? And I said, you are not stuck in the ground. You have the ability to move. You're not a tree. If you are unhappy in your job, then leave. And that's what he did. And it gave him the clarity. And he quickly, he started his own business, and it was great. he would never have done that if he hadn't have left the job that was making him miserable. So there you go. That is my advice for you all today listening. You are not a tree. You can move. You don't need to be knocked completely down to be moved. You can just walk freely towards the changes that you want to make in your life. There you go. That is it for today. Don't forget to save your seat at my free confident dating workshop. I'll add the link into the show note, and remember to re-listen to this again every single time that you want to reevaluate your life. I'm SMr&x. This is Whatever Happened to the Gentleman, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.